Since cyber liability and cyber insurance policies have a great deal to do with the technological, whether you call it hackers or security experts, industry, we're going to take a look directly into that industry to see what people in that field of knowledge say about cyber liability. And we're going to take a look at a publication called 2600. It's referred to itself as the Hacker Quarterly. It doesn't necessarily mean these are bad guys or bad people. They do a lot of cyber security consulting. But we also recommend, if you're any kind of business or curious about cyber liability or any type of technical, you should subscribe to this. It's a very inexpensive subscription. They can send you either a PDF file. I think they still do a printed version that they can mail to you. It's a great publication to learn about things that are happening in the cutting edge of risks and dangers in computer technology. So we're going to look at a well-written, probably the best article we've seen yet about cyber liability insurance. But as we scroll down to it, take a look at the types of things they have in the magazine. First of all, they look at some examples of unusual payphones, because they also talk about hacking of the telecommunication system. This is their table of contents. They even have things that get into very specialized coding. Here's TikTok spyware conspiracy. They're looking at code on different websites to see if there's any kind of spyware put into it. And to understand something like this, you really would have to be versed in technology. And they're making comments about the code. This seems legit. To be fair, this could be used legitimately, but I don't like it, right? So they're making comments about all kinds of high-level things. Hacking digital signage. So if you see those signs on a display board, they're talking about threats and exposures there. But let's jump to the article about cyber liability. This article was written by an individual who did some unbelievably advanced research on cyber liability, Sheikhat Islam, and I apologize if I mispronounce the name, but he did some scraping and very high-level research of insurance company websites, and we'll look at that in a minute. It talks about what cyber insurance is. It's a combination of cyber and insurance, often overprescribed. It goes back to the history of the 1970s of cyber, and even the history of insurance to the 1700s. So this person did his research. Cyber insurance is one of the many recourses of action that are implemented after a breach, and popular, right? And he talks about that the cyber risk is expected to reach 7.5 billion. Actually, we've seen research that shows it much higher than that. Talks about the evolution of cyber insurance. More importantly, what I really found interesting is what he did to try to get an idea of what the insurance companies are thinking of this. This person went to the various websites for the major insurers, Chubb, Travelers, Farmers, Progressive, and looked at the subjectivity and polarity for their pages of how they talked about different cyber liability subjects. Scrape the readable text to look at what the positive and negative quotes were, and it gives you a picture of what companies may be more progressive with that subject and who's more into this, and maybe which companies are more understanding of really what the nature of the risks are. Figure 1, positive, negative, and neutral sentiment for each of the top 10 cyber insurance provider landing pages. Again, this is just one ingredient of the research this person did. Action items and suggestions for the cyber insurance industry. Talks about some prior cases. One that was in Baltimore. One was this case, Mandela's case, losing hundreds of millions of dollars that they were seemingly insured for. What happened in that case, I believe that in the article bears this out, is the insurance company claimed that because it was done by people in another country, they said it was an act of war, and they tried to exclude the coverage. This person definitely did their research, and we're reaching out to this author to maybe get some more individual research and maybe have him give some interviews. Cyber insurance are not the same as they were a year ago, let alone by a decade. That is the key phrase for this article. This is a dramatically evolving risk profile for insurers. So even if an insurance company puts in place a cost and claims premium model today based on the last 3 or 4 years, which is really all they have to look at, the next 3 or 4 years might be different. It's different than fire insurance or general liability insurance or slip and fall insurance, where they have decades or 50, 60 years worth of claims to model their premiums after. These coverages are for a risk and a peril that is relatively new. Talks about how cyber insurance companies must also ensure their employees are knowledgeable about the terms of the policies. Well, how could a insurance professional really have the same level of knowledge about cyber insurance as they do fire insurance, because cyber insurance only existed for a few years? The author says it's unacceptable that insurance can sell a product that they might not know the entire ramifications of. That's a fair statement. There is some compromise to that, is really nobody knows as much about this as they do about other types of insurance. Good point here. Cyber insurance companies must orientate their policies to change. By defining the scope of their policy to the largely evolving and growing space of cyber incidents, cyber insurance companies can guarantee the efficacy of their policies. This is important. If you're a potential client for cyber insurance, you want to make sure that your company is flexible and is evolving with the market to know what the coverages are, and more importantly, know how to protect you in terms of preventing a claim as much as they are in paying one after the fact. So hats off to 2600 for including this article, and hats off to the author to have gone through this very, very deep research of the cyber insurance industry. Sheikhat Islam, I believe it's how it's pronounced. Very well written article, very good information from a perspective that we've not seen before. And as you know from our channel, we've looked at dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of articles about the subject. But cyber insurance is such a unique type of risk profile for insurers that perspectives from a point of view such as this may be as valuable as they are from a risk perspective, because the risk analysis perspective may not totally understand what's going on behind the scenes, because there's not enough experience yet with insurers to have that deep understanding of the risk, the peril, and the losses. Not so much to price the policies and to pay claims, but to really be holistic in terms of being a partner with their insureds, mostly companies, to have it be a worthwhile addition to coverages for commercial lines.